Hello everyone, welcome back to Be the Whole You. My name is Gulveg, and once again it's about that time to take a look at the stars above and the tarot below to see what this full moon event has in store for us. This is a really powerful one. This full moon, August 1st, is actually a super full moon in the sign of Aquarius, and it is in opposition to the sun in Leo. And this has all kinds of ramifications. So first of all, as you can see, you might be able to tell that I'm kind of excited about this one, but it is a bit of a mixed bag. So it's even though it's an Aquarius, there's a ton of fire in this moon. Aquarius is an air sign, but the sun being in Leo and amplified by the square in Jupiter makes this a very fiery kind of moon. And so I want to just take us back to some of the other lunar readings we've had over the last few months. We have continuously been taking a look at this theme of like feeling like there's change and feeling like we're at the starting line of a race or a sprint, marathon maybe, and like we've all been kind of like, do we go yet? Do we go yet? I feel like I need to be doing something, but I don't know when I'm supposed to do the thing. And in the new moon in Cancer, that was an incredibly watery moon. So what we saw there is that there was the universe was saying, yes, move forward, but do so in a very slow and methodical way. It wasn't like the gun going off and we were off to the races. And that watery new moon brought up to the surface for a lot of folks a lot of awareness around some changes that may be taking place in their lives, or some things that aren't working anymore. This last couple of weeks have been rather intense for a lot of folks. So if that has been your experience, I just want you to know that you're not alone, and that there's a lot of other people also feeling the tides of change shifting. And with this full moon and all of its fiery energy, what I saw when I was looking at that, I was like, oh, it's steam. So one of the things about fire is that, yes, it is a mixed bag. So it can either cook your dinner and nurture you, or it can burn down the village. It all really depends on how we direct it. So with the new moon that we had in Cancer, all of that stuff kind of came up to the surface, and now we have this fire energy that has the ability to purify and detoxify whatever it is that needs to be released and transmuted into something that's a little bit more helpful. So also Aquarius is at 9 degrees, and of course it's in opposition because it's a full moon to Leo that is in 9 degrees as well, and 9 is the number of completion. We also have Venus that is in retrograde as well right now, and when Venus goes in retrograde, it also just repeats those same themes of when Venus goes into retrograde, it gives us awareness of changes that need to take place in our areas of our life that are touched by Venus, such as money, luck, and our relationships, love, especially romantic relationships. So if there have been any awarenesses over the last couple of weeks, especially around some tangible changes that need to take place in those areas, again, you're not alone. And this, again, yes, is a theme that's coming up in the stars above that is ushering in this phase of change. Aquarius, you know, the moon's in Aquarius, and Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. Uranus is the planet of change. It's the planet of change, a quick change especially, unexpected changes, but also it is out of the box thinking. So if you have been feeling like change is needed, but you don't know how to make that change happen, or you don't know what resources or support you have to make those changes that you know need to happen tangible and sustainable and worthwhile, then this is the moon where all of that has a very high potential to shift. Clarity is all around this moon. So if there's been feeling like you've just been kind of feeling through the dark, trying to figure out like what comes next, This is definitely a lunar alignment where the mists of that fogginess may part and we may see a clear path ahead. The thing about this though too is that because there's so much fire around this, that the other piece of this is that with that clarity and with that inspiration to do the things that need to be done in order to move ahead, we may also go into being overly impulsive. And that's the thing to watch out about this full moon, is that with that, especially since a lot of us have been feeling like we've just been waiting for the change, waiting for clear directions from the universe of like what it is that we need to do. And with the new moon in Cancer, being given kind of like this loose vision of what it is that is going to be shifting. And now we finally get the clear directives on how to move ahead, that it may just be really tempting to just clear the slate and do all the things at the same time, but it's really important that we ground this energy. Fire, if it doesn't have enough fuel, enough earth energy, it will go out. If it has too much earth energy, it goes out. If you just dump a bunch of soil on a fire, or if you just take a whole armload of logs and place it onto a little fire that's just getting going, it will snuff the fire out. So the earth energy is really important on how we tangibly ground these inspirations, because there is a big possibility for some aha moments, if we've been feeling really lethargic, like shaking off some of that lethargy, that stagnancy, that kind of feeling. All of that is like really helpful parts of this fire energy. The other piece of it though is that because we've been waiting for so long for it, that we may just want to charge ahead before and leap before we look. So that piece of it is really important for us to keep aware of. So also we have the moon and the sun are as squaring Jupiter at 13 degrees in Taurus. So Taurus amplifies anything that it touches. And along with, we have Venus in retrograde, of course. What I see here is that Jupiter is amplifying the energy of Aquarius, which is coming in, and subconsciously the moon is our subconscious in our emotions, and so our subconscious and our emotions are we're feeling on a very deep level what changes are needing to happen. The fire element of Leo and the sun, which is actually the planet associated with Leo, is going to awaken our solar plexus. It's going to awaken our confidence and the ability to take the right action at the right time. Both of those energies are squaring Jupiter, which is just amplifying all of this. And Jupiter, because it's a square, means that there's friction with that. So this may be kind of a bittersweet thing. Like we really like having the clarity and knowing what needs to happen for us to move ahead, but it may come with a dose of unpleasant truths. It may come with a dose of seeing things really clearly that we may have resisted seeing. We may not want to see those things, but it's accepting those truths and taking the right action at the right time to make changes to balance out those imbalances and those things that are kind of maybe painful to see. It's having the courage to do that that's the very thing that'll set us free. So there is a huge opportunity to create new beginnings and new opportunities, and to have new perspectives, and to really embrace up-leveling our sense of personal freedom and sovereignty in this full moon, if we have the courage to see and do the things that we may have resisted need to be done. So that's a little bit of the kicker with it. So the thing about that too, though, is that we also have the North Node in Chiron and it's conjuncting in Aries. This again is only it's like sometimes I think that the universe just tries to it acts on redundancy, so it will repeat the same kind of themes in different ways just in case we didn't hear it the first time. And this super full moon is like a ding ding ding. I remember back in 2009 when I first moved to Arizona and I was starting my life over again. Everything had crumbled. It was a tower year. Everything had crumbled, and it was time for me to start again. And I had a lot of confusion and a lot of fear around what was going to come next and how I was going to make all the changes that need to happen. And I remember driving through the rose fields in Surprise, Arizona, and the sun was rising, and just asking, I was like, listen, I need signs. And I'm right now, I'm not too clear, so I need a ding ding ding. If you're needing a ding 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 for your signs, this is the full moon where the ding ding dings will come. So if you've been waiting for those aha moments, if you've been waiting for the fog to part, this is the time. And with that, when we were talking about Jupiter and the moon and the sun and how all of those things are kind of coming together to say this is freedom, and this is the toll that you might have to pay in order to embrace that freedom. These are the things that may have to occur for you to have this new level of freedom, to step into that new phase, because growth always comes with some level of having to sacrifice, surrender, let go of some old vestige of our old identity, our old ego. And Leo is the sign of the identity. So all of this is up-leveling our identity to be more in alignment with our actual truth, our purpose, and our life's mission. Because the next thing that I was going to talk about is the North Node in Chiron conjunct in Aries. So Aries, again, is about the sovereign self. Not necessarily identity in the way that Leo is, but it's about independence. So North Node is about our life's mission, our purpose, and our lessons that we're here to learn. Chiron is the wounded healer. Both of these are conjunct in Aries. So the changes that are being called for upon at this time are changes that aren't just about that part of your life. So they actually have a ripple effect to where they're much more farther reaching than we may even be aware of at first. So for example, like if you know that it's time to make a career change or it's time to change your relationship status, it's not just about the relationship status. If you decide to make those changes, it will have a ripple effect to where it's actually embodying bigger lessons, deeper healing, then that will free us up in a lot of other ways in our life. So Chiron is the wounded healer, and when it is aligned with the North Node, what I see here is that the wounds that are being asked to be healed at this time are probably pretty old ones. They might be pretty deep, maybe even ones that existed from our past life. And if you believe in that, and if you don't, then it could be ancestral. It can be, things from our childhood. You get you get the picture. Old stuff. That when we do the thing that needs to be changed, what that is us working vicariously through our career change, our relationship change, whatever it might be, to embrace a part of ourself that wasn't completely supported or nurtured. And in doing so, we then notice that we have more confidence, that we have more sovereignty, that perhaps we have stronger boundaries, and that these qualities that we've learned through this particular microcosm, this particular event in our lives, becomes an exercise, a catalyst, if you will, that allows for really deep healing, that changes us in a very deep way, that creates more wholeness, more freedom, and really medicine for the soul. So although I'm not going to tell you that this is a comfortable moon, it is one that that it's definitely due. This energy is definitely needed. We've had a lot of deep waters that we have swam through lately, and this fire energy coming in really can help to start to move and to start to shift some of those energies that can feel very heavy and like we're trying to wade through mud. So this fire energy is definitely something that is very timely and very needed at this time. Let's see if there's anything else here that there's a semi-square with Neptune at 27 degrees in Pisces. I already kind of talked about this a little bit, but with Neptune at 27 degrees in Pisces, our intuition will be heightened. And again, that kind of ties into like seeing truths very clearly that we may have either tried to push off and resist and not see them, or perhaps ones that just weren't clear. So the intuition is heightened. But the thing to notice about that too is that it's about right action at the right time. So one thing that I might be able to offer as far as like figuring out like the difference between seeing what needs to be done and the timing and the way in which those changes need to be enacted upon is how do you feel about it? If you're making a decision to create a change and it feels really raced and really emotional or overwhelming, and you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to sell everything and I'm just going to move to Timbuktu and I'm gonna set up a tent and simplicity. That impulsivity may end up leading us to somewhere where we're not completely satisfied with those changes long term. But if the clarity comes and we can ground the energy and come from a more pragmatic place where we feel it, we feel the changes that need to happen, we see it, and then we can ground the energy by just planning a couple of steps. We don't need to know how the whole thing is going to pan out. In fact, it'll probably change along the way anyway. But we can just plan a couple of steps. Like, okay, for example, if it's the career change, or maybe you do need to move to Timbuktu and live in a tent. If that's the case, then instead of just selling everything and just getting on a plane and just going to the place, plan it out. Do you have a valid passport to get to Timbuktu? How much is it going to cost to get to Timbuktu? Once you get there, you might be moving into a tent, but you still have to sustain yourself. Are there some? Can you network before you leave for Timbuktu? These are the things that can be done as we explore the different opportunities. And because Aquarius is in the mix, as we explore those couple of first steps that we need in order to take the changes, there could be other possibilities and other solutions that present themselves just organically as we do the research. This is a great time to do research, and because not only will we, as our ability heightened to gather the information from around us in the external world, but also we have a lot of energy that is allowing us to process it in such a way to where we can come from a place of how does this information really truly serve me, and how can I use this information and leverage it to increase my own satisfaction, fulfillment, joy, and sense of purpose, versus perhaps getting sometimes stuck in group affiliation or taking in too much of other people's opinions into the mix. This is a moon that will allow us to come from a place of the sovereign self, come from a place of what is truly healthy for me. And when we can create action from that space, we will align with what's healthy for us. So let's take a look and see what any additional information. So join me in connecting with your divine highest self and just set a general intention. I invite you to set a general intention to whatever messages that the tarot have to show, that the messages that are specifically for you and your situation, that they'll just be highlighted, that you'll just know. You're like, oh yeah, that one's for me. All right, so how might we best leverage this super full moon in Aquarius, August 1st, 2023, to serve our best and highest good? Okay, so a lot of the messages that are coming through are very much about like this North Node Chiron conjunction in Aries. And I would also say probably Venus retrograde. It's really giving us some more information on specifically what parts of our lives are going to be the most touched by this. The very first thing that it says is slow your horses down, folks. Like the Prince of Wands reversed, this is the Prince of, he's associated with the fire element. We've already been talking about how fiery this is. And when he's reversed, it's like pull back your reins, folks. Pull back your reins and slow down. I know that we're going to want to run at full pace, some of us. But the Prince of Wands is like, it's not necessary. If you feel like you're rushing yourself, you probably are. And that this is really going to be about, for a lot of us, those deep wounds I was talking about with Chiron and the North Node, that these may be wounds that have an association with our ancestry, that they're inherited. The Ten of Pentacles is all about inheritance. And this doesn't just mean monetary inheritance. It also can be like what we've inherited genetically, as well as characteristics and personality traits that we may have inherited from different family members. And so with it being reversed, it is an indication that what is needing to be healed is probably some inner child stuff and things that we've inherited, so old stuff. And that this might come in the fashion of our relationship to money and what we consider to be fair in our lives. So it's very interesting because we have the Justice card that comes up, and with her being reversed, it's like there's been some injustices that we have lived through, and that the way that this lesson might be coming up is, for a lot of us, it may come up through our relationship with money. It doesn't necessarily mean that we will have a financial loss, but it might come up as, for example, how do we create right livelihood? So, for example, am I sacrificing my overall happiness and health in order for the illusion of security through a particular job that isn't good for me? And if that's the case, then that would be an injustice that's related to how we create wealth in our life and how we sustain ourselves, that is perhaps inherited from our family belief systems, how we grew up, what our relationship to money was, or how we taught our relationship should be to money from our elders, so on and so forth. So it does look like for a lot of folks that this will come up in terms of monetary resources. The other thing that's coming up for me is that this might come up around where we actually live. The Ace of Pentacles, it's about money, but it's also about all kinds of material resources, including our shelter. So it may be that there is an injustice in where we live and it's an imbalance, and that we know that it's time to move. And so it's time to make plans and to take those actions in order to move to either a new home, perhaps even a new state or a new city, new neighborhood, and it may show up that way as well. So, lots of changes, lots of shift, and the discomfort is just the process of taking the venom and making it into the antidote. If we don't get caught up in victim mentality on how this shouldn't be happening and that it isn't fair, like that kind of mentality, although it might be valid, doesn't typically produce that many results. So stay there as long as you need to in order to honor those feelings. And when it's time to move forward, and with all this fire energy, we're probably going to move through that pretty quickly, that we can really transmute a lot of the imbalances in our lives simply by transmuting our relationship to them inside. There is a real opportunity here for transformation and healthy growth in general. But we might have to go through a few little growing pains in order to get there. But it really is going to be all good. So I love you all, and I wish you the best in this very intense, fiery, transformative, purifying, detoxifying full moon, super full moon in Aquarius. I'll see you in a couple weeks, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.